South Africa will be taking on Ireland in the second T20, and we in for a proper fight. I'm hoping. I hope that Ireland can show a better performance with the bat. I hope that they give South Africa a proper go for their money because I mean, other than the bowling performance from Ireland in the first T20, I wouldn't say it was necessarily 100% up to scratch because South Africa gave a lot of their wickets away, rather than Ireland taking those wickets. And with the bat, it was very under par. It looked like they could have been bowled out for 100 or just over 100. And if it wasn't for the tail enders doing what they always do to South African bowlers, majority of the time, then we would have been in for an easy win. But it was still, at the end of the day, quite a convincing win. But we would like to see a more clinical performance from South Africa. I would like to see some dominance with the bat. I want to see South Africa completely dominate Ireland in the second T20. But we know the Irish, they love to fight. They love to fight back. They love to put in all the hard yards to try and give all they got to push South Africa to the limits. So I want to see that from Ireland. I want to see that Ireland that took on South Africa in the second ODI, and I want to see them give South Africa a proper test because South Africa need it. We're going to be talking about the second T20. Hopefully, South Africa can obviously clinch the series. We're going to be talking about what a series win can do for someone like Mark Boucher. We're going to talk about some of the comments that were made maybe in the press conference today with Aiden Markram. We will talk about the different positions, what we'd like to see, some of the lineups, etc., what we'd like to see from that perspective as well. All on the show today. If you're new to the channel and this is the first time that you've joined us, please subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell for all future videos. Smash that like button. We're looking for 30 to 40 likes today. Man, let's make it 35 likes. So smash that like button and let's get into it. So today we're going to be discussing everything that has to do with the second T20. So here we go. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show / daily show. I'm your host, Khalid Mahidin, the Smakka host, Aditya, and we're going to be chatting to you about everything that has to do with the series against Ireland. We have Tsepo here with us as well, so we're going to get some awesome insight and full of personality and full of energy, and you know his optimism, so this is going to be a great show. I think that we'll be able to talk about majority of what's going to be happening. We have sent out the link to some other guys as well. We'll see who joins us during the show, but let's get straight into it and start talking about it. And I'm looking at you guys, all of the guys out there that are watching us right now, the ones that are sitting here watching our videos, and that subscribe button is red. What's going on, guys? Click that subscribe button, click that notification bell, smash that like button, and share this with all your friends and family. Let's get into it. Let's start with selection first and foremost, because I think that's probably where everybody likes to start when it comes to these things. What would you like to see differently? I think I'm assuming that majority of the changes will probably be in the batting lineup. I don't know, or bowling lineup. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe it's a balance from everybody around here. I'll start with myself, and then we can go to Aditya and then Chipo. For me, I want to see a team that's closer to our best 11 that we can possibly pick. That's obviously what I would like to see South Africa go with. I think that because they've given Yanaman Malan an opportunity in the first T20, they might as well give him another shot in the second one. There's no point in just dropping someone after one innings. So I'd like to see basically the same team. Maybe the only one that I will change is maybe putting an extra spinner in maybe for Lazard Williams, because we can see how spin was doing against Ireland, and just to have an extra spinner, either Bjorn Fortuin. I think he is excellent. So maybe giving him opportunity and seeing what he can do. He can also hit the ball a little bit as well. So he can hold the bat. But that's probably the only changes that I'll really make. What about you, Aditya? What would you do or change with regards to the lineup?
Um, Look, now that Yaneman is in the lineup, I feel like it's unfair to give him just one opportunity and then not to continue him. So I think that would be unfortunate for him. But in an ideal scenario, I would look to play the additional all rounder. So that to me would be Vian Mulder. But if I really want to take a risky option, then I'd give Bjorn Fontaine some exposure in this game as well. Simply because the Irish can be the Irish can be worn down by some high quality spin. It's not they're not used to hitting good quality spin out of the park. They'd be more comfortable against pace and perhaps medium pace. So that's something I would do. But again, as we've talked about in previous shows, the concern is the batting. So getting that balance right is more important.
And you, Sebo?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, gents. I think it's about time that Bjorn Fontaine got a run. I did a little bit of research looking at all the players that played in the games from the West Indies all the way to Ireland, and Bjorn Fontaine literally got one game. He was the player with the least games. In terms of us seeing a starting 11 and us seeing our best 11, I think we know what our best 11 actually is. And for us to say that we don't would be a bit naive. So honestly, what I think this team needs is Bjorn Fontaine to come in, because if there's any time for someone in your squad to get exposure, it's now. Basically, we know that Shamsi's nailed on, Linda's basically nailed on, but in terms of team composition, in terms of having a backup plan in case someone is injured or someone gets COVID, because you need to keep that in mind. You need depth for that reason. Bjorn Fontaine seems like an obvious candidate, and now is his time to get his opportunity. So I expect to see Bjorn Fontaine showing tomorrow for that reason. And in terms of the batting, I think I'm happy with the batting and how he went about the batting. It may be a controversial opinion, but I think it was good. I have a little bit of research that I did just looking at how we went about getting our runs. I think I'm pretty happy with that. But right now, all that the selectors are looking for is the right combinations. We have the people that we want there. How do you drop Yaneman Malan after he scored like 17 billion runs? So we have everyone, and everyone else is basically sorted. That was literally the one position we were looking for, and he found the right man for the job. So now it's just about getting the right people at the right places, coming in at the right time.
Bob, we've got you here with us as well. I would like to hear your thoughts on the lineup. We're first talking about the lineup first and foremost.
First of all, thinking cap is on. Let's see here. I'd probably have to say, I'm leaning towards maybe making one change in the batting unit. Maybe shuffling the order. I think if we're gonna play multiple top order players, I think one person will have to make way. So most likely it'll have to be Milan. Could replace him with a seam bowling all rounder like Mulder, for example.
Okay, that's an interesting one, because I mean that's obviously also seen as almost like a placeholder for someone like Dwayne Pretorius. We had Aiden in the press conference, and they asked him about that being top order heavy, and he didn't seem to think so. He didn't seem to think that South Africa are top order heavy. He said that there are a couple of guys in the team over there at the bottom that are versatile. Aditya, do you wanna put some extra context to this? Give some extra explanation to that?
Yeah, I think it's the message that has been given to a bunch of batsmen, including Hayden, in that they will be put in positions that they're not familiar with, and they may have to perform roles that they're not familiar with. So Aiden's been given that message for the last couple of series, and That's also the case. That's also the case with Rasi, and Enoch in his previous press conference also suggested that the team management is looking at putting players in a bunch of different positions. So the message to players is that they need to be able to adapt to different positions.
And they've even brought up the fact that Aiden has done it at domestic level, moved around middle order and top order. Some people, obviously, in the comment section, I can see a lot of people saying Aiden deserves that opening spot, and the only reason he doesn't have that opening spot is because Bavuma is there. So I want to pose a challenge to the comment section. Let's see what you guys come up with. I want to know what your um 11 is, or let's just say your top 7. I put the question out on Twitter as well, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Just bear in mind that Bavuma most likely will not get dropped, so I want to see what you guys will do if Bavuma has to get picked, because I don't think Boucher has it in his mind that he's going to drop his captain. So just have a thought about that and build a team around him and see what you come up with. I would like to know what your top 7 is. Put it in the comment section below. We'll maybe read out a couple of them on the show. Okay, so what you want to see in this particular game? Because I'm not really worried about so many island players. I'm not really. I think if South Africa can put in the performance that we know they're capable of, we can blow Ireland out of the water. The batting performance, the actual batting part of it was good. So the way Bavuma started off his innings, the way Quinton started off his innings, the way Janneman was a bit I think too quick. He went too quickly into the attacking mindset. The way Aiden started, the way Rassie started, I was happy with all of it. Even the way David Miller started, I think they all got good starts. But what I would like to see and what I was upset about mostly was about the way they lost their wicket, because that showed the intent. So because of the manner in which they lost their wicket, I could see that they were coming out with a, I wouldn't say swinging mentality necessarily. It could possibly be an attacking mentality that they came up with, and that game plan is a bit risky. I mean, sometimes you need to read the situation and just know if you lose an early wicket that maybe you just slow yourself down. Like, I think Temba should have put on the brakes slightly when Quinton de Kock went out, just to calm things down, because enough runs were scored at the crease quickly in that period that Quinton was at the crease. So all he had to do is just like slow things down, let Janneman also take his time, run between the wickets, because I mean, people, it's all about not accumulating dot deliveries. If you're running between the wickets, that's also good to keep the run rate going, especially when Quinton gave you almost a head start. I see a performance like Quinton at the beginning of that, even if he goes out. And that's why I say let Quinton play like he wants to play, because you almost always give you a head start. And then from there on, it doesn't matter if you just slow it down a little bit until you get your eye in, because by then you've already gotten a head start. It's almost like starting the game quickly with a couple of runs. I see over here a buy that you sharing something. Do you want to explain that? Must I put it on the screen?
Yeah, it should take like a minute. So,
Cool.
yeah, this is just to show that Markham's role, like, he can be flexible. Like, he scored 169 at number 5, and he knows when to accelerate. So I'm just saying that he can adjust to various roles depending on the situation.
And we do know that about Markram. It's something that I know about him as well. I mean, when I spoke about it a while back, remember I did show when we had a conversation about the T20 roles and speaking about what role each person should play, and the fact that we don't have a number 6. I mentioned that maybe we should have a situation where the top 6 doesn't really matter what position you're batting in, but you play the situation. So if you're down 3 after 25 runs or 30 runs, who do you bring in that particular moment? Or if you lose a quick wicket after 20, 30 runs, who do you bring in? If you scored 100 and then you lose your first wicket, who do you bring in at that point? If you get to the 15th over and you have 150 on the board, who are you going to bring in to get you to 180, 190, 200? Those are all dependable on who you have in your lineup and who's on the team. And at that point, if you can get a good start from your top three consistently, that Quinton can either bat and perform, Bavuma can either bat deep, or your number three can do that, then it doesn't matter where the rest of them are, where they are batting, because ultimately you can just bring them in when you need them. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Because that brings in a whole total different mindset when it comes to picking a top six, because then you're not saying your number six has to be a big hitter, your number seven has to be you don't have to think like that anymore. So you don't have to think, oh, my number one has to be scoring quick runs every single time. You can adapt it according to what you have in that top lineup, and the more adaptable players we have, the better, is it not?
Look, in an ideal scenario, you'd want every single player in your batting lineup to be adaptable.
Yes, of course.
If you're 30 for 4, then you'd want your number 5 and 6 to be able to consolidate before launching. So in an ideal scenario, that's what you want to do. If I don't know if you guys watched the India versus Sri Lanka game yesterday. It was basically won by the number 8 batsman who scored 69 of 70 odd balls, and we were 116 for 5 and ended up chasing like close to 270 odd, 280 odd. So it's not the number 8 batsman's job to win the team the game, but he was able to do it. So that's what I'm looking for with South Africa, because what's happening right now is that we're in a situation where I think all of us are complaining that this batsman is one position too low, or that batsman is one position too low, and it's justified, because Aiden Markram would want to see him at the top of the order, but there's no place at the top of the order right now, So what you're saying is absolutely right. You want to be in that mindset that everyone in your top 6 or top 7 can do the job, and that's ideal. But unfortunately, I think South Africa are lacking that experience, and they're lacking that confidence, because the inconsistency in the batting lineup has been there for a long time. So, and because of that, there's always going to be a lot of shuffling and things like that. So a lot of people are not exactly settled. So the more they are settled, the better it's going to get. But as of now, we're in that precarious position where everyone just needs to get more confidence, and second and third T20 will be instrumental to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quickly want to... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to introduce our next caller in. So you can start that, Zippo.
Dan Kiwi, my friend. How's it? You came just
cleanly
in time.
shaven and everything. Wow.
Job interview. So it's
I love
always a pleasure to shave my beard and look silly.
You look clean, bro. You look
clean,
like you can be in one of those. No, never mind. Okay, but yes, let me start my respect voucher rant. Let me start my rant with saying, Aditya, I don't agree with you saying that we have inconsistent performances, because somehow consistently we keep scoring 160 runs. That seems to be the par score. I said this last time, I'll say it again. Somehow we seem to scrape through in the end, and I guess the problem is that things aren't clicking, and that's just about the combinations, and it's only a matter of time before that starts to happen. But if we're going to look at batting, like cut dry, let's just look at the batting. Let's just look at how they constructed the innings, look at how they read situations. Let's start with Rassie van der Dussen and Aiden Markram, who came in at, what was it, 48 for 3? Yes. Basically, Aiden Markram, Rassie van der Dussen didn't get boundaries between the 6th and 9th over. Literally no boundaries were scored, but there were only 7 dot balls. So constant rotation of strike, a few dot balls there, but that's where the highest concentration of dot balls were. As well, we cannot underestimate the quality of Simi Singh. Guys, Simi Singh is a quality bowler. He slowed us down, and we had to respect him. And that's what we did. After that, after those overs, Dorkel came in, got smashed for like a whole bunch of runs, 2 boundaries in that over, and we hit foot on the gas. The way Aiden Markham went out, he was going too hard on the gas. But one thing I want to say is that David Miller as well, the way he constructed his innings, also fantastic, because the way he went out in the West Indies, it was always trying to clear the boundary, but he just didn't have the power to do so. And he looked like he wasn't changing gears, but I saw 2 very, very, like, he pierced the gap with 2 boundaries in a row that looked quality, So in terms of changing gears, I think we've got that down. And I think we mustn't underestimate the quality of David Miller. This is just a patch. He's gonna get back to the stats that he normally produces, because he's just that good. And then in terms of extending the batting lineup with an all-rounder, guys, Kagiso Rabada hit 4 fours in the last over. 4 fours in a row. Let's not forget, these guys have been working on their batting, or at least KG has been working on his batting. At least now we can see it. So all these little gaps that, like, the little chinks in the armor that South Africa are addressing, and I think they deserve a bit more credit. I think we shouldn't be as concerned as we are with the batting lineup, because in terms of having a plan and going about, like, executing a plan, it's not that far off. And against Ireland, we basically dominated, except for what Abai's name is there. We did not close it out. That was the one problem I had with the entire game.
Just one point really quickly. At the end of the T20 series against the West Indies, Mark Barcher said, and then Rassie van der Dussen also said, that the last 5 overs in virtually all of those games was a concern. And the fact that they weren't able to push on to get those extra 15, 20 runs was something that they needed to work on. In the first T20 against Ireland, Temba said that they were going to aim for 180. They managed 165. So we're talking about 6 T20 games here, and 6 out of 6 times, the one thing that they haven't been able to do is score those extra 15, 20 runs. That's a matter of concern. And the product, and it's a product of the fact that they haven't been able to get a bunch of those tactical decisions right. Because you talk about 6 T20 games, you don't have 6 T20 games to not get 15, 20 runs in the World Cup. That's simply not going to work. And we're talking about, look, Simi Singh is a great bowler, but is KG Rabada going to be able to score like 19 or 4 against Mitchell Stark or Jasprit Bumrah? Look, I loved watching KG Rabada bat, but we have to take into account the fact that against higher quality opposition, 160 isn't going to cut it, and there simply has to be, and it has been inconsistent, for a period of time now, because they're not being able to, look, if you look at, they're not able to win games at home, Shepu.
But you said against higher quality opposition, 160 is not going to be enough. We saw 5 games where 3 out of those 5 games, 160 was enough. So, I mean, there's the higher quality opposition. It was away conditions. And I mean, different conditions mean different scores. If you're coming to the high faults, obviously you're going to get higher scores and you're going to need to score more runs. And we're assuming that if you come to the high faults and David Miller's on strike, these balls are going to be smashed out the park. But the fact of the matter is we weren't in the high faults. We were in, Dublin. I was about to say Malahide. We were in Malahide, and we saw that pace off the ball from Adair was devastating. It was difficult to get the ball away, and they knew that. They knew they could keep the scores or keep the score low by preventing us from reaching the boundaries. So I feel like if you're in that situation, you're going to need to adapt. And we adapted. I guess we scraped through, but when you say we scraped through, I mean, our bowling attack showed that it's not easy to score runs there. Well, to be fair, this is Ireland. I'll give you that. This isn't high quality opposition, but in terms of doing what we can against the opposition we're playing against, reading the situation, playing the ball that's in front of you, I don't see where the problem is.
Okay, so do you think that let's say 150, because that's actually what they got, the batting lineup, before KG actually turned on his powers, and I think
KG is part of the batting lineup.
Yes, okay. For this particular, do you think that KG can do this every single game
I don't see why
consistently?
not. I don't see why not. If he's going to train to do this, I give him a few years, give him 1 year.
Yeah, a few
and
years. We
if
don't
he
have a
keeps
few
training,
years.
oh, come on. Well, until the
We've got
T20
this.
World Cup,
I'm
yes.
talking
Wait,
the
until
T20
the
World Cup. I'm
T20 World
talking
Cup,
about.
yes. But until the 2023, which is what we're building to. Let's be honest, we're building to 2023. Mark Boucher's plan is going to 2023. So in terms of that plan, come on, guys. Let's give this guy a bit
I
more
don't know if
credit.
that's
He
from
might
what
not
I've
last as
seen.
long, but come on.
From what
He's not
I'd
been
have
that
to
bad.
listen. I have to listen to what press. I have to listen to what Abhay, if you can just bring up Boucher's record since you took over quickly. I haven't what I heard from Mark Boucher is that this T20 World Cup is the priority to win it, and they want to win every single game, and that's their aim. So if that's how he's been selecting his teams, like a man, like a coach that wants to win every single game. I don't think that that amount of scores and then hoping for one of your tailenders or your bowlers to score you an extra 15 to get you out of trouble is a good strategy to have. I think that you need to aim for 160 consistently, yes. By the at least the 17th over, you can aim for 160 and then try to push on. But I don't believe that a 20 from the Cock, a 14 from Bavuma, a 4 from Yaneman, a 39 from Aiden, and I don't know what it's a 28 or something like that from Rassi, and a 28 or 25 from Rassi, and a 28 from David Miller is good enough for a team that's trying to win a World Cup. I don't think that it's good enough. I believe that they should have scored more. They believe that they should have scored more because even in the West Indies, even though their bowling attack saved them, and even if their bowling attack is bowling as well as they can, to keep it up consistently every single game and make sure that your bowling attack can put on a performance like that, it's a very risky strategy to have. We saw it we don't know what's going to happen. What happens if the same thing happens in 2019 to us? We went with that strategy to the 2019 World Cup under Otis Gibson, and we lost KG, we lost Lungi, we lost Andrich, all on the trot. They were bowling at 70-80% because they were all injured, and then you had to rely upon Andile Pechlukai and Chris Morris to be your main strike bowlers over there, and we struggled to win games in that World Cup on pitches that should help seamers. So that was my concern. So I don't want that to happen again. We know how much cricket these guys are playing. They traveling from bubble to bubble. There's bubble fatigue that they're speaking about over here and all of those type of things. What if one of them pulls out and we don't have? Because one injury in that bowling unit, we're in trouble. That's the problem with the unit that we currently have. It's a bit fickle. Whereas with our batsmen, I think if you lose an opening batter or you lose a number 3, we have the backup for that. We can replace them. So I'd rather get our batters. I'd rather be completely confident in all areas on the pitch, fielding, batting, and bowling, rather than just hoping that our bowling attack is going to be the main weapon every single time. We must practice scoring 160. England will chase down 165. Without a doubt. They chased down 193 or 190 odd over here in South Africa against us. They chased down massive scores, and they're in our group. That's the thing. You have to also play the opposition that you're playing against. Pakistan can chase those scores down. They beat us pretty convincingly. So, and they in our group as well, I think. Aditya? I'm not 100% sure if they are, but yeah. So you also have to think about that. And all I want is us to perform better. I want us to be more clinical with the bat. We should be performing better with the bat. We shouldn't have a situation where we're sitting there and saying, oh no, I don't want to accept 165 consistently. That's my problem. I see that the private chat's going. Is there anything that I need to look at, or does anybody want to jump in here? Dan, what's your thoughts on this?
So I've got a couple of thoughts. My first thing I want to get on my soapbox for is Temba Bavuma is not the coach. Temba Bavuma doesn't select the team. To say like Bavuma has to drop himself, like what professional sports person is going to go to the coach and say, listen, I think I'm shit. I shouldn't be here. Sorry for the swearing.
That's fine.
But no, that's just not realistic. Temba Bavuma has a place in the side as a fielder, and I was trying to see, like, unfortunately, fielding stats aren't quite as detailed or as good as batting stats or as bowling stats, but at the same time, he's dynamite in the field. He brings value to the team as a captain, and we also have to make peace with the fact that being a captain does lower your average. I was trying to see if Stats Guru would help me out here. Unfortunately, I think I'm searching for something a little bit too specific, but maybe someone else can help me. But averages of captains is traditionally lower than their regular average. Yet at the same time, against top flight competition like England and India, Bavuma is averaging 28 versus England off of 6 games and 76 off of versus India of 2 games. So you have to kind of adjust. You can't just have such a small sample size and say he's going to score centuries, but he's not valueless with the bat. It's not like he shows up there and knocks his stumps out of the ground and walks back. He bats at 3 or he opens traditionally, and those are also positions where we do see, like Babar Azam is possibly one of the greatest batsmen playing the game at the moment. Is Pakistan going to drop Babar Azam because his form has been a little bit off for the last couple of days or for the last 2-3 games? No, because they know the value that he brings. They know the scores he's going to bring. So, and I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but just my big thing is Temba Bavuma is selected to the side. He's one of the 11 best cricketers in the country. Whether you're happy with that or not, become a selector for CSA and choose not to select him, because the people who pick him seem to think he knows what the hell he's doing. Saying he should bat lower down the order, if he trains for it, sure, but for the past 2 weeks on Guerrilla Cricket SA, on all the cricketing things, we've been saying we should stop moving players around like chess pieces and kind of slotting the person into the situation, but building the situation for the person. So no, I don't think we should move Bavuma unless Bavuma is comfortable. Unless Bavuma says, let me take a stab at that. 6, 7, and 8 has to be big swingers. I think that's something that KG understands, and that's why he's shown his versatility with the bat at 7, because he comes out and swings. He comes out and puts a lot of power behind his shots. He doesn't come out and bat delicately.
So I'm gonna bring up the round quickly, the table quickly. So this is our groups that we have available over here. So South Africa is there in the group 1 over here. It's England, Australia, South Africa, and West Indies. That's a tough pool. So what I want to ask you guys is, do you think, and I was under the impression that because of the way we played on slower wickets, and we've been majority of the times we've been tested on slower wickets. We've seen the IPL also was played in Abu Dhabi as well. Do you think that the slower wickets will favor South Africa more? That's what I need. That's what I want to ask, because I think that we've showed, like Chepo, if I'm going to be optimistic over here, when I look at the way we've defended 165s against West Indies and then now against Ireland, I think we've shown that we are capable of doing that with our bowlers if we keep our consistent bowlers and they are fresh. So what is your thoughts about that? Anybody can go.
I'll start. I think we have the capacity to set low targets. I would want to see our spinners play more, because I think on a slower pitch, your spinners are going to play a bigger role. Imran Tahir, his phone must buzz now with a call from Mark Boucher saying, Imran, come to the UAE. No, I see you shake your head. Imran Tahir is still one of the best bowlers we have, and one of the best bowlers, well, we've produced or we inherited, or however you see that. But we need tools, because one of the things Khalid said that I agree with completely is that all it takes is one injury. We've got a very strong lineup, but we also had a very strong lineup in the last Cricket World Cup. And all it took was one injury to just kind of snap that chain, and then the chain just kind of kept snapping and snapping and snapping. That's where we have to try and build depth. That's what we see in some of our other sports, is we have deep players that can play deep and players that make the first team. I'm worried that for our cricket team, for our bowling especially, we're playing the same guys over and over, and we're not building that depth quite so well as we should.
And I see people having a go at me in the comments about me comparing Temba to Gale. I did not compare Temba to Gale yesterday. What I said was, and this is people mixing up my words, and I don't like it when people do that. So what I said was, everybody said, like they are doing now, everybody saying, oh no, Temba was in the team, the Josie Stars, and they lost all their games. So they're saying that Temba is the reason why the Josie Stars lost all their games last season. And I said, Chris Gale was in that team. So was Ryan Rickleton. So was so many others, world-class players, and they all never performed that season. That's why they lost. Not because Temba was in the team. Like this, Temba is not the only one not performing. You guys are making it seem like Temba is the only person in the last couple of series that has not performed in white ball cricket, which is not true. So I'm not saying that, I'm not defending Temba because he must perform and he must score runs, but I'm saying don't blame one person for our whole team's lack of scoring. I mean, for example, if in any sport, in most team sports, you're not going to blame the one player for everybody losing, for a whole team losing a match. That's just a bit unfair, I think. And that's the only thing that I'm gonna have to say. I mean, yeah, there's been games where a particular player did really well and everybody's collapsed around them and they still won a match. There's been cases where one player has performed really well and everybody performed well and people have won matches, or everybody's performed well and people have lost matches. So that you can't just blame it all on one person all the time. I think that's a bit fickle, if I can call that.
Yeah, let's just be honest. The Temba slanders, it's not justified. It's just not justified. It's not. There's no reason behind it. I guess you can say people are being left out the sides, but the fact of the matter is he bats well. I'm not going to defend him anymore. I'm only going to engage with this when Temba is not doing well, when these things make sense. But I forgot what Dan was saying. You see now what Temba Bavuma chat has done. Dan, what are you saying before this? Oh, yes, Imran Zahir. Guys, no. Oh, yes, injuries. You're talking about injuries, and we're going to need rotations. And yes, I think that we're preparing for that as well as we can. I'm thinking if it were the T20 World Cup and KG Rabada got injured, I would like to know that there's someone there to replace him. And I think there is. The rotation of the fast bowlers, KG, Eindrich, and Ngidi, as long as they don't play in the same game, one can come in at a time. If one of them gets injured, at least we know we have two pace bowlers in the front line doing these things. Then when it comes to spinners, I think we have quality spinners that should come in, and that I don't think Imran Tahir, I wouldn't say necessarily pushes out, but there's no need to bring Imran Tahir in now when we have the likes of Bjorn Fontaine right there, when we have Keshav Maharaj right there. If we bring in Imran Tahir, then we're going to have situations that the SJN talk about, where they're like, I was sitting on the bench in the West Indies, in Ireland, and then they call Imran Tahir. Imagine. We don't want that situation. Bjorn Fontaine has the quality. I don't think Imran Tahir even wants to come. And that conversation goes to Chris Morris as well. If Chris Morris wanted to be here, he'd be here. We tried to talk to him. He's not coming back. KG Rabada has to be the guy that steps up now to fulfill that role And right now, as of last game, I'm happy with that. Keep doing that. Whatever Mark Boucher, whatever the coaching staff, whatever everyone is telling you to do, I like that.
So we all okay. This is the last thing I'm going to say about Pavuma, okay, and then we can move on, Abai, for with you. But I just want to say one thing. You having a go at me like I'm picking the team. All I want to find is solutions to South Africa's issues, and be realistic when we're talking about picking players. So if you want to be realistic, you have to go have a go at Boucher then. Go tweet him and say why are you picking Pavuma every single game? Because he's the one that's doing it. He's the one that made him the captain. So them and the selectors. So go find their handles and go tweet them and ask them. You can't ever go at me. I'm trying to find the best solutions to the issues that South Africa have in looking at what is realistic. And what is realistic is that they probably won't drop Temba. So we have to work around it. I understand that he hasn't scored a 15, 14 games. I know all of these things. It's not like I don't know this. What I'm saying is I'm not making any excuses for him. He needs to perform. We know that he has to. But it's not us that's picking him. They are picking him. So I'm trying to be realistic and trying to find a way on how we can still get games if they're going to continue picking players that are not performing, or that are not getting the runs on the board. But okay, Abai, what's your thoughts?
I'm just going to make a general statement because when the situation is far from ideal and then someone gets put in charge for the first time, you can't expect things to suddenly improve like with a flick of a switch. Change takes time, and we've seen, like, not just in sport, that abrupt change never really works. So to keep things simple, a few months is far from an adequate sample size. So it's better to just wait it out before delivering the harsh criticism. There's nothing wrong with constructive criticism, but you can't go over the top with that.
And also with the small sample size, Temba Bavuma as captain has done pretty well. I mean, he's only lost three games as captain.
And won a series as underdogs. Pretty much.
I mean, like, is he that bad a captain? I don't think so. He's pretty good, and I can't think of anyone better. And there's no point in changing it now anyway. So let's chat about some other stuff. That injury chat, that's an interesting chat. If we were like, what if David Miller got injured? That would be a fat chat that I want to have. I don't want David Miller to get injured. I don't want David Miller injured.
Dan, can I just say something? And you can answer this one because it's got to do with I'm presuming what you're going to say. But my problem is that we don't have a number 6 that can come out swinging. So we need to find ways to put a team together and a batting lineup together that can get 160, 180, 180 plus. Ultimately, that's what you kind of want to aim for as a goal. If you don't have finishes like South Africa currently are sitting with, they don't have finishes. Dwayne Pretorius is probably going to be the guy that's going to take them out of that. And supposed to be Miller is supposed to do that for us. That's what they've identified him as. But if we don't have others, how do you then put a team together, a batting lineup together? What is your approach then to get runs?
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was going to say, is that when we're building a team, it's not just, cricket's a team game, whether we like it or not. Shane Warne and Murali, Murali maybe won games by himself, but Shane Warne did not win games by himself. Virat Kohli does not win games by himself. He performs excellently, and that sets the base. And that's what we have to understand with cricket is that, and Khalid, you made the excellent point that there's some games, I'm thinking of the World Cup final, New Zealand and England both played excellently. There's no one that you can point to and say, that guy didn't do his job. And it was a draw. And then a super over. And then I suppose 2 super overs and then the thing. Well, either which way. It's still, there we go. It's when you build a team, if we look at other professional sports, players get developed or players get placed into a role that they're good at and then developed in that role. for rugby, Mornay Stain, they're not having Mornay Stain tackle people like Henry Honeyball. Why? Because, and I know this is rugby and not cricket, but why? Because Mornay Stain is a good tactical kicker. He knows how to tackle when needs be, but he's at his best when he's tactically kicking. So that's the thing. We identify the strength of the player and we build around that strength. And I think that's something, and Paul made an excellent point that I never thought of, that Mark Boucher is constantly viewing himself as being under pressure. And I do think so. I do think that Boucher feels that the moment he loses a game, he's going to be fired. And I think there the benefit can be with a long-term contract to say, we don't expect you to come in, like Abai said, to come in and suddenly change everything and boof, South Africa is suddenly the next England and India and New Zealand of world cricket. That doesn't happen in professional sports. There's no coach that just suddenly comes in and the team turns around. That's Hollywood. That's not real life. Rather build the team along the players, pick support staff that complement those players' style, and that's how you develop a team that becomes world beaters. I mean, everyone is enamored with New Zealand. New Zealand 10, 15 years ago was a bit of a minnow even, and there were talks about dropping New Zealand. But what they did is they sat and concentrated, developed their natural game, identified talented players, and built around those players. And I think that's what we're missing in our coaching situation is we need that certainty for Boucher and his coaching staff to say, you know what, this has been a rough year, just like it, guys, but this is the progress we made. Or, it's a rough year, but all the batsmen's averages went up by 15 to 20 runs. It's been a rough year, but we've got some match-winning performances. Small things, but not throw the baby out with the bathwater and just expect South Africa to overnight become this Titan team. Like, that doesn't happen. That didn't happen to Australia in the 90s. That didn't happen to India. That's not happening to England now. I mean, they squeaked through a little bit on the Pro 20s against Pakistan. And I know it's their B team, C team, blah, 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 but still it shows that professional sports is the 11 best people in that country playing that game. It's not just some guy they found off the stands to play wicketkeeper. It's professionals. It's people that play this game for a living, and it's people that honestly deserve a little bit of respect and deserve a little bit of someone saying, you know what, I've been guilty of this myself, where I was like harsh on players, and it's unfair of me because unless I am playing in that situation, I don't know the decision making. I don't know what the guy's doing. I'm not saying don't criticize players and don't criticize sport. All I'm saying is these personal attacks and just going after the guy, like you're not helping. Like be a helper. Don't be a herder.
Yeah, so much to talk about because I mean, I'm not. From my point of view, I'm not trying to give my opinion on what I think the side should be. I'm trying to put myself in Boucher's shoes and look at the decisions he's made and then try to bring it to you guys and try to make sense of it all. And that's my job here as the host of the show, is to be able to bring that to the guys on the channel and in the panel and to you guys in the comments so that you guys can analyze it and talk about it and say, okay, cool, now how are we going to move forward from here? And it's my way of trying to create some positivity moving forward. I've been critical, yes, where I think it needs to be, where I need to be critical, and that's when players do not perform consistently. And I believe that the players should be performing consistently, and that's from every team, and that's all I'm going to try to be doing. So when I look at what they've been saying in press conferences, because I watch every single press conference, a teacher watches every single press conference that is available. I'm sure the guys on the screen over here watch as many as they can. So when they have the chance to. But sometimes you also can't believe everything that was said in the press conference either, because there are certain things that were said, and then you have to read between the lines. So there's certain things like that we have to think about when it comes to that. When Aditya, what do you think that Dwayne Pretorius' role is when we're looking at it from Boucher's perspective? It's come across like they're looking at him to be that number six, that number six in the side to be that big hitter, as well as bowl a couple of obviously a couple of overs as well with his medium slow pace.
Yeah, he's certainly going to be expected to bowl 4 overs, and um, he's probably going to be the guy who's entrusted with really putting on a show between over 17 and 20. He has to take on the responsibility of hitting big and scoring big at the back end. What we've talked about South Africa's struggles with respect to scoring at the back end, I think he's supposed to be the solution to that problem. And we saw a bit of that against Pakistan. He did quite well there. And yeah, I suppose there's going to be a fair bit of pressure on him to replicate those performances. But a question that I really want to pose to everyone here is that we've been talking about South Africa's performances against Pakistan, the West Indies, Ireland, okay, in the context of the opposition, right? For 1 minute, let's try to think of the South African team in the context of how T20 cricket should be played in the UAE, and there is a template for it, and that template is the Mumbai Indians team in the IPL in the 2020. You look at how they structured their team. You look at how each department played. You know, whether it's top three, the middle order, lower order, and the bowlers, and that combination, the tempo that they played at, you know, I think that's an important template for virtually every team going into the World Cup. You know, that's the structure that they should be following. And I suppose my question to everyone is, where do you think South Africa is at, you know, in that context, and what do they need to do to get there?
Produce
Sorry,
all-rounders
Aditya.
that can bat.
Sorry, Aditya, I just want to quickly, can you please give me clarity on the Mumbai Indians template? I'm not very familiar with. I just watch them from time to time. I just watch Quinny de Kock, to be honest. But yeah.
Okay, I mean, if you want to line up that team, it's Quinton de Kock, Rohit Sharma, Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan, Kyron Pollard, Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya, Deepak Chahar, Rahul Chahar, Jasprit Bumrah, Trent Bolt, who else? I think Nathan Coulter played in the last season, perhaps. And who else? And then that last position is up for grabs. You know, it's either the spinner or the pacer. But essentially, if you look at that template, it's more like that core is the middle order. That's the core. Ishan Kishan, Kyron Pollard, Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya. It's referred to as the engine of the Mumbai Indians. So the top order is obviously world class. You know, Quinton de Kock is going to come good most of the time. Rohit Sharma is going to come good most of the time. Surya Kumar Yadav, I think he scored 500 plus runs in the last season. So he was a vital cog in that lineup. But if you look at the aggression in that team, it came from the 4 players in the middle order. And that to me is the key, right? In the IPL, if you look at the money being invested in teams at the auction, it's that middle order 4, 5, 6, 7. That's where most of the money should be going, and that's where most of the franchises are investing in that department. So that's the template in reality.
Yeah, and if you look at the last Mumbai Indians campaign, I remember this quite clearly, is that Hardik Pandya didn't really necessarily come to the party as much as he used to, like with regards to when the way we know him to be, and yet they did have Kusal that took that reign in that particular team. He scored some massive runs over there, but they have backup. It's not like they're relying on 1 or 2 players. It's like, you know, when that team goes out to the middle, you most likely you can trust nearly all of them. They have backup for backup for backup when it comes to depth with regards to run scoring and quick run scoring as well. So when Quinton doesn't come off, Sky does an amazing job over there in that middle order to keep that together. And there's not a lot of pressure on the youngster as well to go now perform. So I want that similar type of feel with South Africa, where I'm hoping that Timber, obviously all of us will want, okay, no, I don't know if all of us want, but I bloody hope that Timber can come to the party and he can score runs with Quinton de Kock as a partnership. And because that takes pressure off a guy like Aiden Markram if he's going to bat at 3, for example. It takes more pressure off him to feel that, oh, flip, I have to score runs. But on the flip side, we've seen that Aiden performs pretty well under pressure when that pressure is on him to score runs. It actually boosts him. It has been boosting him recently to do that. So, yeah, we have to. I mean, before he scored those 350s in T20s, no one was asking for him to be in the T20 setup. And I remember the streams that we had and the live chats that we saw. People were like, why Aiden? He's done nothing in T20s. And then he scored 350s. And then everybody was like, oh my God, he must be in the team. So it's the same thing that we're going to be seeing here.
Can I ask that question? Yes. How close are we to the templates? Okay, so we're going to have to sharpen up that middle order. You're going to need quality in that middle order. And I think with David Miller there, we have that quality. Also, now with Rassie van der Dussen lower in the order. I remember earlier, I think it was in the early T20s against the West Indies, with Themba Bavuma and Rassie van der Dussen so close to one another in the order, you sort of lack that stability towards the end of the innings. And I think putting Rassie van der Dussen lower down the order gives someone like David Miller, someone like George Linder, someone like KG Rabada, just someone to bat with, to not only keep the scoreboard ticking, but to be able to put the foot on the accelerator, knowing that there's someone that can also score pretty quickly. Because I mean, Rassie van der Dussen does score quickly on the other end. And I guess what you're going to also need is to make sure that Rassie van der Dussen is scoring at overrun a ball. And I mean, he does that. I would even go as far to say when Dwayne Pretorius comes in, I don't think we should be talking about replacing Yanaman Malan. I think the conversation should actually be a Lazard Williams, like a bowling position needs to be there needs to be rotation there. And then you basically extend the batting lineup, because it seems that with the two premier pace bowlers, 2 spinners with Shamsi and George Linder, and then just one more bowler, South Africa seemed to be okay with the 5 bowlers, or at least the working on being okay with the 5 bowlers. Some people don't feel comfortable, but somehow it defends 160. So, yeah. Also, and one more thing, to the UAE conditions, you're going to have to hoy in as much spin as possible. Pace off the ball is what you're going to have to work with. You can't get used to the ball hitting your bat as sweetly as it does in the high felt. So in terms of preparation for that, the West Indies series and at least the first game of the Island series looks like it's ideal for that type of gameplay. So yeah, that's just what I'm. In terms of preparation, we look like we're making the right moves there, in my opinion.
I wonder how much of that was planned, Dan. Pakistan away, slower wickets, over here. I mean, in West Indies, slower wickets. Now again, Ireland, slower wickets. How much do you think? I mean, do you want to give credit to the guys that created those tours, or maybe not? Maybe it wasn't expected.
It's one of those things. Again, we're not privy to the selection process. We're not privy to the big talks. We don't know what the big thinkers are thinking of SA cricket. We just see the results. To answer in part Aditya's question, I think the difference between the Mumbai Indians setup and the Protea setup is that Mahela Jayawardene is a good coach, and that's not to say that Boucher is not a good coach, but Jayawardene has the confidence of the cricket administrators, I still think that Boucher feels like he's one game away from looking for a job. And I think that that pressure that he puts on himself to kind of have to win every game is just it's impossible. Like eventually you're going to crack. There's a reason why on the American side of things, and Abai can speak to this, like the NFL had one undefeated season in what is it, almost 80 years? The English Premier League has had one undefeated season. It's because if you try and win, and you know, it's sport, you want to try and win every game, but sometimes you're just not going to fire. I think what the Mumbai Indians, what makes them one of the best, if not the best Pro 20 team, is that they've always got guys that can rely on to perform, but they selected the guys for the performance to say, here's where you're good at. Quinny, you like to come in and just take it to the bowler. We're putting you in second, or we're putting you in third today because, you know, you were a little bit off on the nets. And I feel like on this SA side, whether that's actual pressure on Boucher or self-imposed pressure, I think that's where the difference is that with the Mumbai Indians, you have a coach that just feels, you know what, one bad game doesn't sink me, two bad games doesn't sink me. I've got the talent. The talent is going to deliver at the end of the day. Like Shane Warne always said, that the thing with Test cricket is at the end of the day, the best team wins. If it's a draw, neither team were the best team, but the best team is going to win 9.9 out of 10 times. And that's the mentality that I think someone like Jay Warden has, is to say, I know me losing is an aberration. It's something that we can address. He, not to say that he accepts losing, but he kind of takes it in his stride. He knows that some days the bat's just going to flip the other way. And I feel like Boucher just feels that the moment the bat flips the other way is the moment CSA is going to tell him to look for work. And he's under so much pressure, again, to just try and eke out wins and win, that you know, any one of us, when we get under a lot of pressure, we stop seeing the forest for the trees, and we just see tree by tree by tree. And you have to relieve that pressure so that you see the forest again. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in that forest. And that's what happens with good coaches that only focus on winning and only focus on the next game and don't have a long-term plan.
Simple.
Yeah, just also wanted to say that I mean, being the coach of South Africa is a very difficult job. Because you're not only dealing with, if you drop someone, this, that, or the other. Before it was, if you drop someone and they're white, they could get a Colpack deal. If you drop someone and they're black, you could get quite child at the SJN hearings. They'll have chats about you there. You have a lot of things to deal with. You have a quota system to deal with. That's, I, for one, just shout outs. I love the quota system. I think it's necessary. It's what our country needs. And if it provokes you, shout out. Let's have a chat. Let's box in the comments. But yes, as I was saying, we need to respect the fact that there's a lot that goes into this. It's a big job to do. And I mean, he's doing his job. Like, as you're saying, Dan Kiwi, like, when you're put under pressure and you lose, and when you're put under pressure, it's difficult to see the forest from the trees. And the best way to get out of that, like, that pressure, is to win games. And I mean, he's winning games. So I feel like Mark Boucher doesn't feel like he's under pressure. I was listening to the chats that he was having on Supersport with Pommy and Bangwa, and he was smiling, bro. I like seeing Mark Boucher smile. He looks chilled. He looks like there's a plan. I think the only people that are losing their minds are us over here, where we don't know the plan. And I mean, as soon as I started looking at the stats, looking at how people constructed their innings, looking at when boundaries were hit, you know, things start to become apparent. A plan starts to become relatively clear. So I don't see, there's no reason no justifiable reason for us to be truly concerned. It's just everything that's happening now. It's just a matter of time before things click. And all we're banking on is that when things click, we'll be a good enough team to be the best team. If everyone is clicking, guys, we could beat England. I back us. We could beat anyone. If everyone is clicking, everyone in this team at 100%, we can beat anyone in the world. I back us. I think everyone else must back us. Shout out. That's what I'm saying. I'm leaving after this. Yeah. Mic drop.
Okay, guys. Okay, let's go. Let's just get the final words from Aditya, Dan, and then bye.
Yeah, I guess South Africa had an interesting crossroads at the moment, short-term crossroads, because they need to find a way to elevate their individual performances and produce a result that is sort of convincing, that can elevate their sense of confidence. Because right now, what we're seeing is a bowling unit that is largely responsible for the wins on the board, and it's important for South Africa, for the players in that unit, to really gain that confidence going into a World Cup. Tomorrow I would like to see runs from Themba Bavuma in particular, and I'd like to see Rassie play up the order, because that's where he belongs. But I want to see runs from Themba Bavuma. I want to see runs from David Miller, and I want to see an all-round performance from South Africa, because it's the process that's important. And I think even on this channel, if South Africa play well and lose, I don't think any of us would really be critical of the team. So yeah, good luck to South Africa. I hope they wrap it up tomorrow.
What's your prediction, though, Aditya? What do you think is going to happen?
South Africa will win.
Awesome. Dan?
Yeah, my prediction off the bat is I think South Africa is going to win. I think they're going to take it. I would also like to see an all-round performance. I'd like to see kind of the engine of the Proteas team, 4, 5, and 6. I'd like to see them put runs on the board. I'm not expecting triple centuries from each one. Just a good average, just a nice score. And then the other thing that I would look out for is just our bowling, to see how Bavuma uses his spinners and when the spinners come on. I'm a big fan of coming right out of the gate with a good spinner and kind of putting the batsman under pressure, and then having KG Rabada let loose. And the last thing I'll say before I conclude is just, we're also dealing with a young team. Like, there aren't a lot of caps. Like, you are not to say that you can't expect greatness from young players, but again, if you look at other sports, someone doesn't just show up and suddenly destroy the competition. Like, there's a reason why players like Messi and Ronaldo are generational, because they showed up and destroyed the competition, sure, but they're going to go down in the history books. It's not your average oak that just pitches up and competes at that level. And we have to be patient with the Proteas. We have to say, we have to give them time, give them certainty, and most importantly, kind of just take things easy. Like, don't let, if your blood pressure shoots up every time you watch a cricket game, maybe don't watch cricket anymore. Like, maybe go garden. I go walk my dog when I get angry. That's what I do. Like, just chill it down, man. Life's too short to get upset over nonsense that you can't control.
All right, I think, what I want to add is, it's always nice to see players that we criticize often, when they perform. It's like a guilty pleasure for me, to be honest. So I think, with that being said, I want to see a significant contribution from the captain tomorrow, and just a strong all-round effort. Got to close it out. That's it.
Sorry, I know I had a drop mic moment, but what I want to see in tomorrow's game is I want to see Bjorn Fontaine. I want to see that man play. And with Themba Bavuma, if he gets 30 or 15 perfect.
I predict the South African win. I want to see our top 6 score runs.
2-0 here too. 2-0. Yeah.
I wanna see the top 6 score runs. That's what I want to do. Like majority, all of them actually. I would like to see all of them put on a decent performance and show what they're capable of, so that they can go into the last match with complete freedom and put on a proper performance and just put on an entertaining performance for the fans out there to show what their true colors are and what they're capable of. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. Thanks a lot to Tsepo, Aditya, Abai, Dan, all of you guys for coming on the show as well. Smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, click the notification bell, of course, for all updates on future videos. And we'll see you again tomorrow with a review show after the game. We'll think about a show as well in between, maybe about something interesting for you guys for a daily show as well. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and enjoy your evening and the rest and the game tomorrow as well. Cheers.